we begin with a might, a flame.
Okay.
That's the best place to begin.
Mhm.
A beauty, half visible with deathless eyes, a violent ecstasy, a sweetness dire, enveloped him with its stupendous limbs and penetrated nerve and heart and brain, that thrilled and fainted with the epiphany. His nature shuddered in the unknown's grasp. And that's the first full stop. So quite a few lines. 6 lines before the full stop. So we have this might, which is power, and we have this flame. Sri Aurobindo says a lot about the flame, but I don't know if we've done that yet. We probably have done flame.
We have done it, yeah. Last time.
And then we have this beauty, which is very, very interesting because he says it is half visible. But it's even only half visible with deathless eyes. How do you feel about that, Vladimir? The beauty half visible with deathless eyes. It's not even fully visible even with deathless eyes.
Yeah, it's very
And yet,
mysterious.
it's a beauty, capitalizing beauty. Have we done beauty before? I think so, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, we did beatitude, I think.
But not beauty.
No, I don't think we have done beauty.
Okay, so let's do beauty. Falguni, could you do it for us?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. I'll just scroll up
Sure.
in the lexicon.
You bet.
I'm almost there. Yeah, I found it. Shri Beauty, Shri Aurobindo. Beauty is a special divine manifestation in the physical, as truth is in the mind, love is in the heart, power is in the vital, the future poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Beauty is the way in which the physical expresses the divine, but the principle and law of beauty is something inward and spiritual and expresses itself through the form, the future beauty. Here, those, Narad, I didn't understand. Something inward I did not understand.
Well, it's the physical beauty that everyone responds to is usually an outward beauty.
Mhm.
And the inward beauty is something that shines through the body from the spirit, from the soul.
Okay.
Yes, so it's something inward and spiritual, but it expresses itself through the form. The form, of course, is the form of the human being.
Beauty is Ananda, taking form, but the form need not be a physical shape. One speaks of a beautiful thought, a beautiful act, a beautiful soul. What we speak of as beauty is Ananda in manifestation. Beyond manifestation, beauty loses itself in Ananda. Or you may say, beauty and Ananda become indistinguishably one, the future poetry.
The future poetry, he speaks a lot of that. So what we are seeing here, that beauty actually only can express itself in manifestation. So if it's beyond manifestation, it becomes identical to Ananda. Beyond manifestation means there is no form, because beauty is simply Ananda taking form. But he says, interestingly, but the form need not be a physical shape. It could be any kind of shape. So we'll carry on.
Beauty is not the same as delight, but like love, it is an expression, a form of Ananda, created by Ananda and composed of Ananda, the future poetry.
So clear, so very clear.
Mm. To find highest beauty is to find God, to reveal, to embody, to create, as we say. Highest beauty is to bring out of our souls the living image and power of God, the human cycle,
And now we have something from Mother.
the mother. In the physical world of all things, it is beauty that expresses best the divine. The physical world is the world of form, and the perfection of form is beauty. Beauty interprets, expresses, manifests the eternal. Its role is to put all manifested nature in contact with the eternal through the perfection of form, through harmony, and a sense of the ideal which uplifts and leads towards something higher. On education, collected works of the Mother, Volume 12.
So Mother is very exact here in what she says, that beauty interprets, it expresses, and it manifests the eternal. And it wants to put all this manifested nature, everything, plants, animals, whatever it may be, humans, human beings, it wants to put everything in contact with the eternal through the perfection of form. And this is why it's so important as we age that we never think negatively about the human body. We always want to improve it, to give it good air, good food, good exercise, good rest, and good work. So when beauty manifests through harmony, a very important form, the perfection of form, then this sense of the ideal will uplift and lead us towards something higher. So Ashwapati is going through so much now. He sees a violent ecstasy, and doesn't that seem to be paradoxical? A sweetness dire. So what Sri Aurobindo is telling us here is that there are, how shall I say, that there are things that the mind cannot grasp because the mind sees in duality. But he is so far above the mind. And the other day, Ranganathan in our Life Divine class told us something that I had not heard before. I had heard that Sri Aurobindo revised Book 1, Canto 1 16 times. And Ranga said, no, 50 times. And it is all in the archives. Every revision, 50 times. So when he calls this ecstasy a violent ecstasy, and when he calls sweetness dire, these seem to be oppositions, but they're not at this level of Ashwapati's experience. And have we done ecstasy, Vladimir?
I think we did ecstasy long ago.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll go through and continue then. Now, enveloped him with its stupendous limbs, Now, this word enveloped is very interesting because we have envelope and we have envelop and enveloped him, enveloping. It is covering someone completely, surrounding someone completely. So, and these stupendous limbs, these limbs of astounding force or degree, and the whole thing has penetrated nerve and heart and brain. And these nerves and the heart and the brain have thrilled and fainted with the epiphany. Extraordinary. Extraordinary. Some of us have had experiences where we've been absolutely thrilled with the experience, but I have never fainted with the epiphany. That's beyond me. The epiphany, of course, is a manifestation of a deity or something, an appearance of a deity. It can be an intuitive perception also. So now we have his nature. His nature shuddered in the unknown's grasp. See, here we're getting words like shuddered, fainted, penetrated, enveloped. Sri Aurobindo is in violent ecstasy, dire sweetness. He's telling us something that we can only understand after reading it many, many times and not attempting to define it through the mind. It's all above mental range. In fact, I am told that Sri Aurobindo not only wrote everything through the overmind, but many things, many lines came through from the supramental, from the supermind. So we have the unknown. And I think we've read that before, that the unknown is not the unknowable. Now, the next line is so extraordinary. In a moment shorter than death, longer than time. Shorter than death and longer than time. Here we go again with an oxymoron almost. By a power more ruthless than love. More ruthless than love. Happier than heaven. Taken sovereignly into eternal arms, hailed and coerced by a stark absolute bliss. Of course, hailed is, I don't have the definition here, but someone may have it in the. But coerced, of course, is compelled or even restrained by force, it can be. But here it's compelled by this stark absolute bliss. In a whirlwind circuit of delight and force, hurried into unimaginable depths, upborne into immeasurable heights, it was torn out from its mortality and underwent a new and bornless change. A bornness, of course, I think the best way to define it is something without a limit, a limitless change. So we see how much he is going through. Yes, Vladimir?
No, hailed means dragged in the old English.
Yeah. Sometimes they say they hailed the women when a conquering enemy takes over. They hailed the women, dragged them into wherever. An omniscient knowing without sight or thought. So this is very incredible because if we don't have any sight or we don't have any thought, how do we know anything? Because we're basically still empirically grounded. Yes, we can touch it, we can feel it, we can smell it, we can taste it, we can hear it. But this omniscient knowing is without sight or thought. And of course, Sri Aurobindo has spoken of this omniscient. We may have read it once, but I'll read just this couple of sentences. The omniscient is not born nor dies, nor has he come into being from anywhere, nor is he anyone. He is unborn, he is constant and eternal. He is the Ancient of Days, capitalized, who is not slain in the slaying of the body. This is, of course, where we get into confusion sometimes with our minds in what is this soul or what is this omniscient and how does it differ from the psychic being? Well, those who have read Sri Aurobindo understand it clearly. Sri Aurobindo coined the term psychic being with Mother. And the psychic being is the evolutionary being within us that progresses from life to life. It doesn't die out, but it's progressive, evolutionary. The soul, or the self, as he sometimes calls itself, is above all manifestation. And being above, it is untouched by grief, sorrow, happiness, joy, anything. So we now have this omniscient knowing happening without sight or thought. And it's even an indecipherable omnipotence. Well, something that's indecipherable, you can't, it's illegible, it's not decipherable, it's not understandable, it's incomprehensible. And then he capitalizes omnipotence again, the state or quality of being infinite in power, authority, or might. And he's still continuing on with this sentence. We've had omniscient knowing, comma, indecipherable omnipotence, comma, a mystic form that could contain the worlds. And I'd like to read or have someone read form, because this is very important here at this stage of Ashwapati's progress. Can someone read the definitions of form? If no one, then I'll read it. In the letters on yoga, Sri Aurobindo writes, form is the basic means of manifestation. And, and without it, it may be said that the manifestation of anything is not complete. Even if the formless logically precedes form, yet it is not illogical to assume that in the formless, form is already inherent and already existent in a mystic latency. Otherwise, how could it be manifest? Each form is a symbol of some divine power, vibhuti, concealed in it. And to the seeing eye, each finite carries in it its own revelation of the infinite. Essays on the Gita. And we have one from the Upanishads. Practically, therefore, all form is only an operation of consciousness impressing itself with presentations of its own workings. Oh. So we need form to be a basic part of the manifestation. Because without form, the manifestation of anything is not complete. Now, that form doesn't have to be human. It could be a stone, it could be a tree, it could be an insect. But the form is already inside the formless, existing in a mystic latency. And each form is therefore a symbol of some divine power. And that divine power, that vibhuti, is concealed in it. And to the seeing eye, notice that term, to the seeing eye, each finite carries in it its own revelation of the infinite. And now we just had another comma, the mystic form that could contain the worlds, and now another comma. Yet make one human breast its passionate shrine, drew him out of his seeking loneliness into the magnitudes of God's embrace. So that the divine has chosen this one being. We know and we understand here it's Sri Aurobindo speaking with the voice of Ashwapati. So it made one human breast its passionate shrine, and it drew him out of his seeking loneliness into the magnitudes of God's embrace. And we read a lot of Sri Aurobindo being alone. I don't think it was loneliness in him, but they say he used to order crate loads of books, and he would read books again and again and again in many, many different languages. So these magnitudes, these important things, and these consequential things, these magnitudes of God's embrace, it could also be extent or size. And then we begin with the line, as when a timeless eye annuls the hours. And I have two definitions here, but I couldn't find any from Sri Aurobindo. So I asked Alok and Jumur, and I will read those to you. Alok, it is the eye of the divine that is filled with his own light and needs no external light to function. It comes down, inspiring the prophet's tongue and revealing hidden things to the mind of the seer, but retires after a while. It does not stay permanently until the consciousness is transformed and the mind of man grows into the mind of a seer. Then I have Jumur's reply. She says, it is simply the tranquil witness consciousness. It watches all and is also tremendously strong. It is the static force, one of the two aspects of power, the other being the sword of flame. Very, very illuminating. We begin. As when a timeless eye annuls the hours, abolishing the agent and the act, so now his spirit shone out wide, blank, pure. His wakened mind became an empty slate on which the universal and soul could write. This, for me, is part of my work these days, is for this mind to become an empty slate. The more I move towards that state, the more the words come down almost automatically from the heights, especially from the intuitive planes. And so we see that when this mind becomes an empty slate, then the universal and soul, that's the divine, could write on it, could give him the illumination and the understanding and the power, because power is there also. Notice that Sri Aurobindo capitalizes universal and soul. And I believe we've done those definitions before. Now, he's going to mention us here. All that represses our fallen consciousness. Well, why is our consciousness fallen? That's a question that's often asked, isn't it? And we understand that when we take this plunge into birth, we often do not know anything. The baby knows nothing at all just after birth. It could not survive a day without its mother. So all that represses, holds back our fallen consciousness was taken from him like a forgotten load. A fire that seemed the body of a god consumed the limiting figures of the past and made large room for a new self to live. So now we see that he has experienced all of these things, and everything that in us represses our fallen consciousness was lifted from him like a forgotten load. And this fire, this Agni, that seemed the body of a god, consumed the limiting figures of the past. So this fire, something that I have experienced with Mother, is something that consumes, burns up, eliminates, incendiates these limiting figures of the past. And when it does that, it makes large room for a new self to live. I'll go on a little bit more, and then we'll stop for today. Eternity's contact broke the molds of sense. Well, we can see that this contact with eternity, those of us who have had even a touch of it, have seen so many molds of sense broken. Things that might take many, many lifetimes to overcome, to transcend, can be broken simply by the Divine Mother, lifted from us. A greater force than the earthly held his limbs. So this greater force than the earthly is holding his limbs, and huge workings bared his undiscovered sheaths. Now, on the next page, the first thing we have here, if I can get it, here we are. Strange energies wrought and screened tremendous hands unwound the triple cord of mind and freed the heavenly wideness of a Godhead's gaze. Now, we have to look into this triple chord of mind. And Sri Aurobindo speaks to us twice at least in The Secret of the Veda. So also once in the Life Divine. But Vladimir, why don't you talk to us a little bit about this triple chord?
Well, it's the basis of all integral yoga, so the physical, vital, and mental chord.
Oh, you're not there?
Hello?
All right, so I'll read from The Secret of the Veda. Sri Aurobindo writes, so too, when the seer of the house of Atri cries high to Agni, O Agni, O priest of the offering, loose from us the cords. He is using not only a natural, but a richly laden image. He is thinking of the triple chord of mind, nerves, and body, by which the soul is bound as a victim in the great world sacrifice, the sacrifice of the Purusha. He is thinking of the force of the divine will, already awakened and at work within him, a fiery and irresistible Godhead that shall uplift his oppressed divinity and cleave asunder the cords of its bondage. He is thinking of the might of that growing strength and inner flame, which, receiving all that he has to offer, carries it to its own distant and difficult home, to the high-seated truth, to the far, to the secret, to the supreme. And then again in The Secret of the Veda, he has one powerful sentence. Ignorance, this matrix of sin, has in its substantial effect the appearance of a triple chord of limited mind, inefficient life, obscure physical animality, the three ropes with which the Rishi Shunashepa in the parable was bound as a victim to the sacrificial post. Lastly, from the Life Divine, if there is a self in us capable of largeness and universality, able to enter into a cosmic consciousness, that too must be within our inner being. The outer consciousness is a physical consciousness bound to its individual limits by the triple chord of mind, life, and body. Any external attempt at universality can only result either in an aggrandizement of the ego or an effacement of the personality by its extinction in the mass or subjugation to the mass. This is so interesting because we can see, he says that any external attempt at universality can only result either in an aggrandizement, enlargement of the ego, or an effacement of the personality by its extinction in the mass or subjugation to the mass. So I will read a few more lines and we'll give it up for today. The heavenly wideness of
Narad,
the Godhead's gaze. So I have to go back a little bit. Strange energies wrought and screened tremendous hands, unwound the triple chord of mind and freed the heavenly wideness of a Godhead's gaze. And then this beautiful line here. As through a dress, the wearer's shape is seen, there reached through forms to the hidden absolute, a cosmic feeling and transcendent sight. So we have experienced through Pashupati's tapasya. In this book 1, Canto 5, because now it's the yoga of the king and the yoga of the spirit's freedom and greatness. So we had book 1, Canto 3, where he begins to go through it, but now Sri Aurobindo is expressing in and through Ashwapati the spirit's freedom and greatness. And everything that we're going to read, even continuing on, we will see how high he has risen. Because this will end book 1, Canto 5. And then when he has achieved already so much, he has to climb this stair. And there are 15 cantos in the world stair in this book 2. So we have a lot to look forward to. Any questions?
I think you can't
Yeah.
hear us.
Yeah, Narad, can you hear us?
No,
Okay. Then I
you
will
cannot
leave you
hear.
for tonight.
No, this is your.
Thank you for attending and namaste.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Narad, can you hear
Hello?
us? Can we hear Vladimir on the triple chords?
Oh, no need. It was beautiful what you read. Actually, it is exhausting, the whole topic about mental, vital, and physical kind of nature tying us up to. But this beautiful expression, what you read on that any external attempt to free oneself.
Yes.
This is profound. It tells us that whatever we try to do to free ourselves externally will lead us only to this disaster of the ego aggrandizement or total submission and dissolution into the substance of nature. And that's it. There is no other way out. There is only spirit who can free us from this.
Yeah.
But then, if that, what as our steps towards this, what are our options? Not options, but how do we approach? Because we are tied right now. We are tied.
Yes, only spiritual calling, only spiritual opening.
Will
will free our being here. And that is the answer to all these kind of social organization outside, whatever people try to do and with their egos. It leads only to more egos, nothing else.
But we have the mother. And the mother can do so much in us. We can surrender to her.
It's relevant to what you're talking about.
Yeah, I have a question. Where does the role of effort comes? I mean, is there, like you say, the outward means all goes to nothing. So, but there has to be some role of effort, because without effort, how can is there a role of effort, or is there some connection between the surrender that you do certain effort, then only surrender comes? How does the effort and surrender are placed, in context?
Well, I think the effort always has to be first. We have to begin with an effort. We have to begin recognizing that we are nowhere. We have achieved nothing. And that will lead, hopefully, to a true surrender. And that surrender has to be something joyous. It is not a negative at all. There's no negativity in this surrender. It is a joyous offering of our being to the divine. So we begin with recognition of it, and then surrender is, of course, progressive. It doesn't happen at once. But as we are progressing, many other things can happen. Things can be lifted from us that we thought might take many, many lives because of the divine grace. And we can never forget the importance of the divine grace. Any other questions?
Yeah, there is something about this also effort I wanted to say. When he says about external effort here in this quotation, external, what it means is something else than we think. Of course, partially we think it's all external effort, because partially it is external. But there is an element in it which is not totally external in a way. And that effort, that we can call sincerity in our effort, some inner participation of the being in the effort, is actually leading us on the way. That's why effort is needed. But if you take it only in external terms, like a reorganization of machinery or redoing something in the, or what Auroville is trying to do nowadays, for example, to organize something, it leads only to more aggrandizing of the ego or to surrender and abolishment of some kind. But there is no way of harmonizing and recapturing everything in a new harmony, spiritual harmony. It requires a deeper surrender, deeper introduction of the spirit into the matter.
Yes.
So there is a role of inner effort. I mean, if I would understood you correctly, what you were trying to say is that effort at some extent leads to an inner effort that probably gets to an surrender. Am I?
Absolutely, and it is needed. It is constantly needed. They're always telling us, Mother and Sri Aurobindo, that without this effort, it's so easy to fall, because there will be so many temptations of, we are not ready to be totally surrendered to the divine. It's quite difficult. There are many parts in us which are totally resisting and camouflaging their own aspiration and trying to join our movement in order to block it or to be part of it or whatever. And there are external universal forces which are looking very carefully what is going on there, just to join every time and to block the effort. So effort is the most important part of the sadhana. Without it, I don't think we can proceed.
Yes. But there is a challenge which I face personally when I go to an intensity. Basically, when the challenges grow, your intensity of effort grows. And there is a forgetfulness of surrender comes. It's not that you don't intend to not to surrender, but as you have a lot of external challenges in certain jobs, a certain work, so the intensity of effort grows, and then you lose that, the attitude of surrender or something. How exactly you deal with that? Because you, at a certain work on the nature or the outer wall, you need really intensity of effort. It doesn't happen just like that. And sometimes when you go in a mode of surrender, you probably don't put that effort. So that balance, I mean, where exactly effort ends and surrender starts, or where exactly you need to, I mean, I sometimes get, confused with that balance. So I just wanted a little light on it.
Yeah, if I may say one thing is this, that what I understand is, as Sri Aurobindo says, surrender cannot be done by the mother herself. So you have to do it. So that's your obligation. That's the effort you have to make. Yeah? The effort to surrender. If you can do that, if you remember that, I think everything will be fine. But if you have an effort to achieve something and then to surrender, then it might be a problem.
Desire comes in.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I have a similar question too, um, regarding effort that we put into sadhana. So mostly my sadhana consists of reading Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, especially from their collected works. And there's just so much that they have written and published. And it seems to me that in order to keep my aspiration going, I will have to be reading them over and over again and again. And there's just so much ground to cover. And it's really difficult to do that, especially when you have external obligations, a job, work to do, and responsibilities, etc. So my question is, how does one deal with that dilemma? Is it better to just keep one's sadhana going in a one pointed direction and just keep reading for the rest of my life?
Well, what is the dilemma?
Also, don't see the dilemma yet.
So, for example, my dilemma right now is that should I keep my job or should I just keep reading Sri Aurobindo 10 hours a day? Because I can't do both of them at the same time.
Keep your job.
Yeah, I also think the same.
Actually,
Read as much as you can.
Just to add to that, Nishat, many years back, I was in the same dilemma, but now over years, maybe 12, 15 years later, look back and I think it's an integration of the two.
Mm-hmm.
Living in the outside world, we have to, like Vladimir and Narad always say, rise above. The job itself, whatever job we are doing, itself becomes the sadhana. And like Narad just said, it's mother who does it, not us. I mean, I was in the similar dilemma like 15 years back, but now looking back, it's mother's grace who united the two, the outward job and the sadhana and the reading.
Yeah, very nice.
Good. Yes, Falguni, thank you.
Yeah, it takes time. It just doesn't happen overnight, but she unites it, the two.
I remember when I was in the Soviet Union, you can imagine. It was 1980, 1981, 82. That KGB came to power Andropov. Everything was closed. Everybody was checked. For Sri Aurobindo's books, you could go to jail. But I remember I was working. I had to work. I remember the sweetness of anticipation of reading Sri Aurobindo's book at home secretly.
Wow.
Waiting for that moment, working at work, but still waiting that at the end of the day I will have a time, one-on-one, secretly, in my place. And there will be and that sweetness can carry you through. You don't need to read Sri Aurobindo's obligation. No, you have to arrive at it with joy and sweetness and bliss. With love, you have to read the books. And you can't do it all the time. It's just impossible. You read few passages and you're full, and that touch is kind of, as Sri Aurobindo says, wings the hours, and the hours you can fly now with that phrase or with that passage. This is the way.
But Vladimir has said something very, very important here. You can read on and on 10, 12 hours a day. But what are you getting from it? You could read for 2 minutes and get the realization or something higher coming into you. So it's not how much we read, but the way in which we approach Sri Aurobindo and Mother.
And how long we keep it with us, that impression, how long we can sustain it, that knowledge which comes, because knowledge is power and light. So if I can carry it through longer, if I can start living it, it is exactly the reading. So you can work. It's even good to do it, really. You have to have gaps. You have to have a field of application. You read something, it made sense. Now you see it everywhere. You start looking for it in life. I think this is the way how we should reach Aurobindo, at least.
Absolutely. All right. Well, it's quite late.
Thank you, Narad. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.